Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, That Guy Frankie, yours truly, and today I'm really excited to talk about today's video. It's been quite some time since I've made a video essay on anything DC related, with the last one being James Gunn's Superman, but also one video I would like to not mention as much, but it's Zack Snyder's Justice League. God rest that video and my soul, but that's besides the point. I want to cover a DC comic book that's out currently, and the main reason being is because it mixes up slasher, horror, and comic book superheroes in one. Today, I want to talk about Pornsack Pishashote's Absolute Green Arrow and why you guys should pick this up if you already haven't. The Absolute Universe is not for the weak. In this universe, the superheroes of yesterday are just that, yesterday's story. In order to survive this new reality, they have to adapt and overcome the horrors hiding in the shadows. With Batman, we've seen his rogues gallery turn into monsters of an R-rated flick, bastardized versions of themselves that would make a top 10 list of terrifying creatures in comics. But imagine that with another hero instead. Absolute Green Arrow is eerily similar to Absolute Batman in terms of terror and horror, but rather than the villains being kaijus or cryptids, they're much worse. The monsters in the Absolute Green Arrow universe are those who hide amongst us. Rich elites who run the world and get away with everything. Though it is a politically driven story, it mirrors our reality and cranks it a bit more. What makes this story unique is that it doesn't do it for shock value or to be edgy. Instead, it uses elements from the real world to create a sense of dread by grounding the story. This is by far the darkest DC comic book I've ever personally read, and if you love horror, then this book is for you. The story starts off with U-Ball Slade being guarded by a group of protection specialists after the death of the one and only Oliver Queen. If you want to know about this story, go ahead and read Absolute Evil, because man is that story insane for killing off Green Arrow. But it will also give you some insight as to what exactly is going on in this story. U-Ball is celebrating the death of Oliver, as we come to find out that they were once co-workers and founders of Green Arrow's Trading, until Oliver took over. Everything seems fine and dandy until one of his guards is skewered right in front of him. He looks for his other guards only to find them lying dead on his floor. U-Ball finds another guard only to see his face pouring with sores and a green arrow punctured in his back. In a pathetic, last-ditch effort, U-Ball pleads with the mysterious killer, but it doesn't work, as no amount of money and no amount of pleading can pay off or persuade this person from killing U-Ball. And the last words we hear from the killer are about wanting to make an example. The Green Arrow Killer, as they're dubbed, is hunting billionaires, the elite class who are vile and evil and serve no purpose to humanity other than profiting off the backs of the working classes. The next day, the world is on fire as the news on television, influencers, and everyday people start to discuss what happened. The comic panel showcases some people celebrating their deaths as they list everything they did wrong in their lives, whether it was rape, trafficking, and crimes against humanity. They cheered. This panel isn't for shock value or feel like crap, as some grifters would probably point it out. Instead, it works with the subject and the story. The world of the Absolute Universe, at least Star City, from what we see through the first issue, is similar to ours. The media going crazy, documenting the news. Influencers are normal, everyday people sharing their voices on their platforms, flooding the media, working well for the comics narrative. There's something festering within Star City that many start to pry into. Could there be a bigger conspiracy behind Oliver Queen's death and this new Green Arrow? That is what we start to witness through the story's protagonist, Dina Lance, otherwise referred to as the Black Canary. In the next panel over, we see Dina venting to who we can assume is her therapist or psychologist as Dr. Annie Green questions as to why Dina chooses to stay in her current job. Dina hates her job, and I think for most of us, whether it's in food, retail, teaching, almost any job with a toxic work environment that abuses its workers is terrible and not an environment we should be in. But like Dina, at times we have no other choice but to stay. Dina works as a bodyguard for pathetic rich assholes that need protection, yet treat her or let her be treated as if she were obsolete. During one of her gigs, she's fed up with the way some of the fans of her employer are treating her, whether it's whispering about her attitude or getting physical. She decides that enough is enough. During this conversation, Dr. Green starts to expose some of Dina's issues, suggesting that it may be linked to her mother, who we don't find out exactly what happened other than she died and her father took over a lot of the responsibility when raising Dina. Aside from that, Dr. Green also points out that Dina is in fact numbing herself by taking the money she earns in this toxic job environment she puts herself in, mainly to keep the lights on and support her father, who we shortly find out is being supported by her as his medical bills aren't fully covered by his insurance. Dr. Annie Green even probes by asking whether or not Dina would consider being an MMA fighter again because it made decent money, but in Dina's response, the money is just not decent enough. It's not enough for them to make ends meet. My favorite question throughout this interaction is, why stay? Why not take yourself out of a toxic work environment into something better? Is it worth being miserable? Some of us, if not most of us, have asked ourselves or been asked this question by either peers, family, and partners, and in my honest opinion, I choose to stay in shit either because nobody else is hiring or I've grown accustomed to it. You can try and look for alternatives, but nearly half the time, the job market is very much shit. Dina's answer is just like yours or mine. This economy is not one to leave your current job unless something else comes along worth the money with less stress or no stress at all. This conversation is real, and I applaud Pornsock for adding this commentary to the comic as many readers can relate to the experience. Clearly, it's for us to engage in and find a way to not feel alone, but show that there are other ways, other doors or paths, should we choose to improve ourselves. Before the conversation ends, we find out that Dina has also been hired by a sister firm, offering a special assignment with no idea as to what. This is where things slowly go bad for the Black Canary. Hammond Pharmaceuticals is the next location we travel to. Here we come to discover what Dina's job entails, and it's yet again another bodyguard gig. Only this time it's for one of America's most loathed men, Reese Tyler of Tyler Pharmaceuticals. Not only did this leech profit off the deaths of millions of addicts, but he made the problem go away. Tyler would file for bankruptcy, only for Hector Hammond to buy the asshole out, and not facing any repercussions, any consequences, simply the rich bailing out the rich, as Dina put it. Hector is tied into the story as he was close with U-Ball before death. They had put out the hit on Oliver, and now he's scared as the Green Arrow killer is hunting down elites tied to U-Ball, with Hector and Reese on that list. Dina questions as to why they want her, given she was suspended in her previous assignment while guarding a pop star. The conversation leads to a flashback of simpler times, but evil hiding in plain sight. She's asked about a time when both Ollie and U-Ball were alive, and if she had any memories of them. In this 8-year flashback, we see her intimate with Oliver, but engaging in conversations, discussing about helping make the world a better tomorrow. It's during this scene where we see a young U-Ball Slade, former friend of Oliver, but comes off like a nerd, and judging by the commentary from Oliver, he definitely sounds more like a creep, almost an incel the entire time we see him in these panels. U-Ball was awkward, and it doesn't really help that when we hear Oliver comment about his reaction to when no girl engages in conversation with him, he can't make the first move, and he gets really upset when nobody talks to him. Exactly like an incel, and honestly an idiot, and a loser. He was, quote unquote, harmless. And though he may have been, there were red flags that could have been spotted from miles away and changed for the better. But U-Ball would become the rapist pedophile we'd find out years later. U-Ball and Oliver were working on Green Arrow's trading, where U-Ball was the brains of the operation in terms of coding the app, and Oliver was the one who came up with the idea. He wanted to make a stock trading app that would democratize trading. Oliver put all of his money into the operation and U-Ball did the coding. If people were skeptical, Oliver had enough charisma to win people over with his charm and persona as opposed to that of a car salesman. In Oliver's eyes, he wanted the working man or woman to pretty much get the money that they rightfully deserved, making sure that they weren't being leached off. Years would go by and the two would become billionaires, but the company would be under Oliver now rather than both. U-Ball's skeletons came out of the closet with allegations popping up. To save the company and not look like an evil elite, Oliver still believed in helping people and made the Green Arrow's logo on everything within the company, erasing U-Ball out of existence. At the end of it all, Oliver still wanted to do the right thing, yet months went by and his dead body would resurface along the shores. Nobody knew how he died, and this would be the start of Dina's investigations as to who killed her billionaire ex-boyfriend. Dina decides not to take the job but is forced to by Hector as he cuts off her father's insurance, leaving them without care. Hammond wants to avoid Reese being made an example out of like U-Ball was when they found him. The brutality was picked purposefully, as Dina points out, were the reason that he couldn't keep himself off underage girls. The next panel is another favorite of mine, as I enjoy conversations between characters, especially when it adds to the progression of them and their story. Dina goes home to inform her father about her job and reacts as his insurance was taken away, like Hector had promised. Dina holds her father in her arms as he tries not to break down in tears in front of her. He feels as if he failed Dina given the job and the situation she's in. Dina has to do the job, and though she hates it and her father's worried, there simply aren't any other options. This is where the story gives us an insane amount of panels that give the slasher horror feel to it. Hammond, Dina, and the rest of the specialists are together, guarding Reese while investigating Oliver's Arrow Cave. While nothing is revealed as to what they're looking for, we can only assume it's important as they're seen trying to crack his security system. As they try to pry the system open, someone is lurking amongst them. Arrows are shot, with one slashing Reese's face. Although Dina believes she protected him, it was far too late as the arrow that cut him was laced with poison. Explosions pop in left and right, and Dina sees the Green Arrow killer for the first time. Rather than going straight for her, the Green Arrow killer has his eyes set on Hector Hammond. Other bodyguards intervene, but it's no use as they came to send a message. The Green Arrow killer slashes and hacks apart the bodyguards left and right till they come face to face with Hammond. In what he thought were his final moments, Hammond pleaded with the devil, begging to let him go and revealing the identity of the one who murdered Oliver. That, however, isn't what they wanted. They want Hammond's head on a pike, another elite to be made an example out of, as people shouldn't fear them, they should fear the people. Luckily for Hammond, Dina intervenes and starts shooting in their direction. The Green Arrow killer disappears into the night as darkness swallows them, whereas Hammond is safe, for now. Dina and Merlin, the other guard that remains, follow orders and stay within the Arrow Cave to uncover secrets, whereas Hammond is sent to a hospital to treat his wounds. They find a fake wall that was jarred loose from the explosions earlier, and the comic ends on a cliffhanger with both Dina and Merlin finding the dead body of a young boy, but he's still somehow fresh, no sight of decay. But what's horrifying about this scene is his body. The young boy's body appears to be covered with eyes, spreading from his arms down to his stomach, and the last words we read are, "Damn it, Ollie, what were you up to?" Was Oliver about to uncover the Absolute Universe's version of the Epstein list, possibly finding out about top secret testing? Right now, we don't know too many specifics, but we can theorize. Like I mentioned previously in this video, Absolute Green Arrow is by far one of the darkest superhero comics I've ever read. It's not edgy or uses shock value for the sake of shock, but showcases brutality in a way you can't help but not look away from. Pornsak writes horror in a way that you feel that you're watching a slasher movie play on the big screen, but there's something hidden within it that makes it stand apart from slashers you and I enjoy. Absolute Green Arrow isn't like Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, or Art the Clown. Instead, they come off more like a V for Vendetta meets Dexter story. The murders aren't at random, but are connected as the targets are specifically chosen by the Green Arrow killer. This Green Arrow killer is a cold and calculated serial killer with a motive we find out once the comic unfolds. As they said to U-Ball, it's about making an example, as far too long the justice system has let countless monsters like them slip away through the cracks and nothing happens. Just a sheer slap on the wrist, and they continue to ruin lives and corrupt the world even more. The sheer savagery is eerie and uncanny, especially in certain panels where the gore is cranked to a 10. Now, it's not on the level of The Boys in terms of bloodshed and carnage, but the story here feels like there's more weight to it rather than being written as satire because of superhero fatigue. Pornsak wrote Absolute Green Arrow to mirror our everyday lives, where some of us work terrible jobs just to make ends meet and support our family. We slave away to jobs that don't pay much, or abuse us either physically or mentally, yet can't leave the job market as it is in fact terrible. In many ways, one of the main messages I get from reading this is the feeling of being trapped and not growing because Black Canary can't find anything worthwhile that pays a good amount to keep her father alive and healthy. In terms of politics, this first issue alone was very ballsy, especially given the climate with Charlie Kirk's death, the Epstein files being leaked by showcasing humanity and how they react. Not many will be fans of a story that is on the nose with its storytelling, as many feel it's better to unravel a story to them as it could be surface level. Though it may not be effective for that crowd, it is effective for other crowds who are hungry for good storytelling and wanting to be aware of what's going on in the world. When a film, television show, novel, or comic book uses its medium to tell an articulated story using events that mirror our lives, they can make or break a story, but in the case of the Absolute Green Arrow, it works. A story like this is needed, especially with the current state of the world, but my biggest fear of this series is people worshipping the character akin to the Punisher and missing the point. The Green Arrow killer has the potential to go down as one of the scariest anti-heroes or villains that feels almost just with their motive. My theory is that the Green Arrow killer is someone related to Oliver, someone close to him or idolized him and found that the only way to bring justice is by acting as judge, jury, and executioner. They may not be giving hope to the people with this way or method, but they are enacting vigilante justice to the crimes of those who went unchecked. With Oliver dying in absolute evil, and Dina mentioning that Oliver might have been linked to something big, leads me to believe that he was on the cusp of exposing top secret information that was never meant to be out there. Oliver would have potentially been a whistleblower had Hawkman not killed him, and judging with the dead body that Dina finds, maybe the rich, maybe the powerful elites were testing on children or people, preying on the innocent and vulnerable. But right now there's not much information about it, and I'm looking forward to the next issues of the series. As one, I was never a Green Arrow fan, but now I can honestly say I'm starting to grow into one. As always, I'm your host, That Guy Frankie, yours truly, signing off.